Mm. Hello, we're gonna have to try this way, guys. Sorry about that. I'm over here all by myself. Oh well, it wasn't by myself for long. Hey Tracy, I did kill my microphone. Hello again. Love my camera angle today, right? How are you all? I am playing with fabric, the one I said I was going to make a canning mat out of. While I have been digging through things this past week, I have discovered some batting in various and sundry places. Little pieces of batting. And of course, you know how I am. Gotta use it. Can't throw it away. So I was already planning on making a canning mat. So what I decided I would do is I would pull that batting. And this is literally, as you guys can see, pieces. Leftovers from quilts, that kind of stuff. And it was, I don't know. It was tucked away in a corner. So I'm going to lay it down here. I'm going to cut myself a double thickness of it. Because since this is a canning mat, I want to make sure that it's going to protect my countertops from heat and my canning jars from the cold of the counter. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but the struggle is real when I try to cut things. You're annoyed. Oh, you're putting it together yourself, Lori? You go, girl. I've done them before too. For those of you who don't text message me 24/7, like Colleen, I spent most of last night up. I am having a flare and I'm cutting this batting, but I'm not really wanting to do it where you guys can see it because oh, it hurt. But I'm not looking for sympathy. It's just the way it is. But Lori cringes when I use scissors. Colleen, Tracy, Lori, all my friends. And hopefully we'll have a few more friends. Because I got friends and oh, I can't sing that, can I? It's probably copyrighted. And yes, I am medicated. It's not helping today. Oh, come on, scissors. It's not the scissors, it's the hands. We all know that, but I'm gonna blame the scissors. Now, I did do some things to prepare for this ahead of time. I know. The rotary cutter is not going to cut through this today. So I've got it hacked. I'll just deal with it. I just can't play the actual song. Okay. I'm glad somebody knows. I don't know. It is what it is. Oh, yeah, that is plenty big enough. So I'm lining up the fabric, trying to get that in the camera for you with the batting. And once I have the fabric and the batting lined up, then I will hack it again. This piece of fabric may not be straight. I don't care. Oh, excuse me. Excuse my plate. Yeah, I got a couple of comments. I put up a video about how to cut terry towel with a rotary cutter. A couple of people were like, ah. I was like, listen, folks, till you have my shoulders in my hand. Oh, I will bring you down and let you see my work table in a minute. So, how are you guys all doing today? So I did, before I came on, I cleaned my sewing machine, I wound bobbins, I oiled it. I think it's all pretty much where I want it at. And then let's let you see what's down here. Yeah, I didn't intend to turn off the camera there. Come on, show the video. There we go. Yeah, when you have arthritis, you do. And I am fully afflicted. I would like for you to work camera, if you would mind, wouldn't mind. On, and off. Come on. Zoom is acting like a pain in the butt today, huh? Yeah, it's Zoom. And I have my frustration. Wow. Hi, Sophia. There she is. There she isn't. There she is. There she is. Oh, I don't think it likes being bent. So I'm assuming that this camera has a mind of its own. What I've done, I'll bring it up here so you can see it, I guess, is I am just trying to get my fabrics kind of laid together so that I can keep them smooth. No, what's happening with the video is video related. The video's mad at me, Sylvia. It's bright and sunny, and we have, yeah, peekaboo. That's exactly what we're playing right now. It's peekaboo. Wonky donkey peekaboo today. I tried to move the video camera down so that you guys could all see what I was working on. And every time I tried to move it down, it decided that I didn't get to share that. Whoops. So I'm like, now what? Yeah, I love this fabric too. Isn't it gorgeous? But I don't have anywhere to use it specifically. So I'm trying to match up the edges of the fabric and the batting, and I'm going to turn it into a canning mat. And that sounds really fancy and special. It's not. I'm going to use it for a mat to go under my canning jars whenever I can food into glass jars, because when you pull them out of the pressure canner, when you pull them out of the pressure canner, they need to be set somewhere, and you don't want them sitting down on something that's cold. So, because if you've set a hot glass anything on something that's cold, the glass could shatter, and I don't want that to happen, especially not after I put in all the effort. I dropped a pen, can't find it. Oh no, she didn't. But anyway, so the canning mat is something you can put underneath. A lot of people just use towels, but I like pretty, and I thought this would be very, very useful. And it gives me a place to practice. Maybe it's YouTube. But I was just assuming that it was my computer out, because it seems to be working fine now that I've straightened the camera up. It just didn't like being bent. My camera has a gooseneck that flexes, and it apparently did not like being bent over. So we'll just leave that. You made drying mats using Laura Lynn's pattern? Yeah. I didn't even know. I probably did know that Laura Lynn has a pattern, but it didn't like register at the top of my head, Patty. Sorry. I just had mentioned this in a video last week or the week before, and a couple of people said that they would like to see, that they would like to have drying, or yeah, canning mats or drying mats or whatever. And I thought, well, I'll go ahead and make it on camera rather than just make it and saying, hey, look what I did. And my camera is acting wonky today. Also, glad you're here, Patty, because I showed it a little bit ago, but I'll show it again. I found a bunch of batting that was scrap. It was leftovers from making a quilt while I was digging through stuff in my sewing room to get ready to move. And I was like, oh, yes. So I'm going to use that to make my book when I'm capable of moving again. I actually spent most of last night up wandering around because the shoulders and stuff are just, it's just enough of a flare. Cranky wonky camera. Colleen, that wasn't me. That was Sylvia. Beat me up, beat me up. Did you put binding around and everything, or did you do the flip and flop? I could do it as a flip. I hadn't thought about that. I'm gonna put binding around it. I already made the binding. Anybody else use the pull needle binding trick? Learned it from Sandra Kay. I don't have a long arm. I have a quilting frame. It's still sitting behind me. But I pulled I think it was 15 quilts that I had sitting on there. I was going to move the camera because that would give you guys a better angle on my face instead of me showing all my features. But I'm afraid to touch the camera again. You did a flip. That's probably smart. I probably should have. Oh, sorry. I had to stretch for a second. But like I said, I spent most of last night awake and hurting, and I'm not 100% today. Yeah, I can definitely see doing that for sure under the dish rack, because I use towels and they get ratty, they after a while. No, they're still there. They're just over in the corner. They're there. I'm having nightmares and dreams about houses at this point. I think that might have been part of last night's issue. You know what, Patty? I like that idea. The flip, that may be easier for me to do today than trying to line this all up. So I am going to flip that over, because then I don't have to fight so hard to keep my two pieces matched, because my back piece is not bigger than my front piece. My batting is bigger. Yeah, it is a great idea, because then you can have one. I mean, look what they charge for that kind of stuff. I was somebody was talking about Pioneer Woman fabric. I know who it was. It was Icy Stars Quilting. Icy Stars Quilting was, oh, did I finish my Walmart fabric quilt? And you could just feel from the tone of the video. I only watched a few minutes because I was like, really? You could just kind of tell from the tone of the video that she thought she had slummed it. And I was like, really? You slummed it using Walmart fabric? Okay. I'm out. Just can't. Pioneer Woman fabric is pretty. I think if you have fabric that you like, I don't care if it came from Walmart, the dollar store. I bought fabric from the grocery store one time. I bought fabric from Aldi. I bought some fat quarters, and that was actually pretty good fabric. I used a lot of it for masks. And I don't know. I guess I'm just not a fabric snob. I use quilting or sheets for the back of quilts. Don't feel guilty about it at all. And I've used thrift store fabric to make quilts. I just don't see the stigma around using Walmart fabric. Yeah, I was going to say that, Tracy. A lot of people do buy fabric from alternate sources. And quite honestly, I bought a ton of fabric from Marshall Dry Goods, and I ordered a bolt of muslin that ended up being 25 cents a yard. That fabric has worked great in quilts. I ordered a bolt of, it's sitting behind me, but I'm not sure I can pick it up. A bolt of white fabric that's like the white on white. I've used that, and I was getting the So Yeah boxes, and I was getting So Yeah boxes, and I bought a crud ton of fabric from So Yeah. Okay, so it was like I have all this fabric from all these places, and So Yeah, the fabric I bought from Marshall's Dry Goods is very similar in weight to what So Yeah sells. So everybody's like, oh, So Yeah, good fabric. Okay, well, so is Marshall's Dry Good fabric. And I have gotten some fabrics from Walmart before I bought them. And I bought them as much because they were thin as anything else. I just don't see the snob factor. And I didn't watch the whole video, so I don't know. She may not have been that way the whole way around. It could be my personal bias coming in there. Because I was like, I was just surprised. I've never thought of her that way. She's always seemed really down to earth. But I have seen on a lot of people's chats and stuff where they talk about Walmart fabric with their nose curled up. And I'm like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Tracy, I've sewn clothes out of, I've literally bought sheets to make clothes out of before. And having been the person that couldn't afford to buy any other clothes, when I was pregnant with my sons back in the late 80s, we were military, we were poor. I had two outfits that I could wear the entire time I was pregnant. They were mix and match pieces. One was pink, one was blue. And the minute that I had that baby and was back to where I could wear my regular clothes, I took those two outfits and I burned them. And it wasn't long after that I started teaching myself how to sew and how to sew clothes. And now I'm never going to be stuck in just two outfits again. That's not going to happen. And I used Walmart fabric to make pajamas for my kids, to make school vests for them, to make myself clothes. And I've used sheets. It's whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's not about how much it costs. It's about the talent of the person making it. So my thing is if you're complaining about Walmart fabric, then you probably don't have the talent to make Walmart fabric look good. That's the challenge they do to those people. I watch Project Runway a lot, in case you guys don't know that. I'm sliding over to my sewing machine so I can maybe put this mat together. And then once I get it put together and flip it out, I'm going to use Patty's way. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Patty. I mean, on Project Runway, I watch it when I take baths. As a matter of fact, if I tell you that it's Project Runway time, it's because I'm going to go take a bath. Usually I'm soaking, and the episode's enough usually that it's about the right amount of time because you're not supposed to sit there for more than X amount of time. But they do things to them all the time where they, bring the designers in and make them have to make high-end outfits out of curtains and all kinds of stuff. You go to a party store and you've got to use Mylar balloons and whatever. And hello, I'm here. Right. Well, designers do put time and thought into fabric and try to create things that are that they like, as well as they hope that people will like, but I just don't see the being a snob about fabric kind of thing. On the other hand, I'm not a snob about sewing machines either. Mine sounds a little better than it did this morning. It's still acting up a little bit. I cleaned it right before we came on, and that may be its problem, because it's like, wow, oil, a needle, thread, wow. What did you do, Ma? Yeah, but I don't see being snobby about fabric. I just can't. I've been broke too many years. And if you're a beginner sewer, and I know that we have some of those who lurk because you guys leave comments, don't be afraid to try something. I mean, even if you're making a quilt that you hope will be an heirloom, I utility quilt. Usually when I'm making a quilt, I intend for it to be used. Yeah. I'm intending for my quilts to be used. As a matter of fact, when I gift baby quilts, my favorite pictures that I get back are when the quilt is thrown on the floor, the baby and the dog are crawling on it. There's toys everywhere. My one cousin, they love going to the races. And so whenever I get pictures from her of the quilt in use, it's usually thrown down on the ground in the pit area with the babies. There's two now, and the dog laying on the quilt. It's like their little barrier area. But I already told her, I said, go ahead, use the quilt. If it wears out, I will make something else for you. But I bake quilts to be used. I have quilts that were made by my grandmother and my aunts and uncles when I was probably before I was born, that are still in use in my house. Hello, Deborah. Everybody that was here before already knows, but my camera has apparently decided it only likes one angle today. Oh, school disco. Is it disco themed, or is it just like a dance? Is that just what they call dances over there? You never know. And I'm using my rotary cutter to cut around the outside of this. I decided to do a flip, and then I'll quilt. My shoulder just wasn't having it the other way, just to dance. You feel bad. Well, Colleen, now you're a quilter. Would you rather that your quilts sat like in a cedar chest and were never used? Or would you rather they get used? I would much rather they get used. And I am a utility quilter. I'll tell you that up front. Just like Colleen, when you make stuff, you're like, I don't want things that sit around. You're useful. You want useful. That's where the practical part of my name comes from. I want things to be useful. And no, a baby quilt isn't useful for your entire life. But it's a nice memory. And if the baby quilt wears out, it can come back later and be put into a bridal bouquet, or if someone takes up sewing or quilting. I've seen plenty of scraps from other things that ended up in quilts. Hey, it works. It works, Sylvia. Does your dog mind? Do you mind? And your dog is adorable. I'm just like, yeah, every time I see another dog short from Sylvia, I'm like, I got to go watch that a few thousand times. Apparently, so does everybody else on YouTube because I've been seeing she's been getting lots of views on her animal shorts. I think that's great. Oh, yeah. And that's the important thing is that the stuff gets used. I'm not, when I was growing up, there was seemed to always be a lady on the street parlor. And she was saving it for good. Hey, Faith. And I'm like, okay, so is the Pope coming to visit you? Are you going to have the minister for dinner twice a month? Maybe. Back in those days, you might have. But, and I just recently heard it called the preacher room. Oh, let me see if I can find it real quick, Deborah, because I had it out playing with it. That's fine. I filmed it short and showed it. I must have packed it. It's called Quilting, and it's by Uppercase. The author and the company that makes it is Uppercase. It's uppercase.com, just like uppercase letters. And not just the book, but Deborah, even if the books run about $30 a piece, shipping from Canada to me would be $12. So it's a $40 book. So it's a little higher price than some of the ones that we probably all buy and read. But the website is awesome because you can go on there and look, and I'm turning this out. They have videos of several of the books that you can kind of glance through. And I was like, oh, these books are expensive. I'm not buying them. Well, I've bought them one at a time. They're a great Christmas gift for me whenever they come out with new ones. But yeah, I love that book. I have I think I have most of them now. I have quilting, I have vintage, I have feed sacks. There's one for sewing, and on some of those, it's like ephemera for those hobbies. I'm trying to find the right word. And on like the quilting one, they interviewed a bunch of different quilters, how they came to quilting, what their style is. They show a lot of older quilts. There's not much in there on like geese bend, but there's a lot of quilters who are in there, modern and not so modern quilters. And I really enjoy the books. They're a great, for me, like last night when I was not feeling good, I laid down or not laid down, but I sat down here and I read the book. And all I'm doing now is I'm just turning it out. So basically my mat's done if I want it to be. And then I'm going to fold my little area where I don't know what to call it today. My brain isn't working as fast as my mouth, apparently. But there's my little opening, and I'm just going to fold it over and sew it down. Colleen, are you able to pull links on anything? All right, Sherlock, you have a great day. I put the link for Uppercase in the short from the other day that I did on it. Quilting books. Lori, you have a great day. Thank you for coming. And I'll put the link in the video description here when I'm done. But those books are great, Deborah. If you are at all interested in reading stuff like that. And like I said, the website has videos from some of the books. And I will tell you guys, it's Canadian, Tracy. I ordered the book in a tin that they just came out with. Thank you, Laura Lynn, because that's what I used to order it, was my PayPal. And so when that book comes in, you guys will get a review of it. But if you look on the website, they have a video about the book. It's 2 minutes long. And I was like, yeah, okay. It's vintage collections. It's about this thick and it comes in its own little tin. It's not a huge book. It's a smaller one. But I was read through it and I was like, yeah, you love to read anything? Okay. I thought that I had put the link directly from the website. Let's see. What? I'm afraid to touch my computer. Yeah, Uppercase Magazine is also, they also publish Uppercase Magazine. It's the same website, but look for books on there. And you can also buy back issues of their magazine. They do, I think it's quarterly magazines, 4 times a year. All right, so here is my little canning mat. And got it pretty much tucked together. I did make binding for this. I may still put the binding on it, but I'm going to sew around the edge first and seal it shut. I'm still working on getting my little corners pulled out. Yeah, Deborah, definitely worth looking at. And I'm a reader too. That's why I was first attracted. The Karen at Just Get It Done Quilts had recommended these books a while back. And I don't think she recommended them as Christmas gifts. It's okay, Colleen, you're fine. But they would make great Christmas gifts for anybody who's any kind of crafter, gardener, crafter. I don't think they have a book on canning, but they may have one on cooking, or maybe I read that they were going to come out with one on cooking. But I'm sure that if they came out with one on cooking, it would be like vintage kitchen equipment. I'm gonna start cutting out bowl cozies and start mug rugs. Good for you. And after I talked about bowl cozies on here, I saw like 15 people do bowl cozies, and some of them did them way better than I thought I could do, so I didn't do them. I was like, no, we'll leave that to somebody who's better at this than I am. And I'm not huge on bowl cozies. I'm like, eh. You guys did see this though, that I just did. My little medicine box holder. I did that. I'm probably gonna put Velcro on it. I've been playing with it for a couple of days, and when I'm hurting, I do not want to have to deal with snaps. So Velcro, that's the quilted book specifically. Awesome. But I'm going to put Velcro on it, I think. Last night when I was hurting and I was trying to open it up, or I was opening it up, I was thinking I probably wouldn't be able to do snaps. I couldn't open my cup. It was that bad. Like this cup, that little lid was too tight. I couldn't get it loose. The one person I wouldn't watch do things, Deborah. So anyway, but I got that done at bowl cozy. I don't want to do bowl cozies. Ooh, deconstructing a balaclava. What is a balaclava? Is it a bag? I think you said you were making bags. Thrift Book says used books. You've purchased a lot of quilt books from them. Okay. I'll have to check that out, Faith. I bought a lot of quilt books from the thrift store too. And I usually will do like a quick little short just to show you. I've got like quilting with Nancy Zeman and stuff like that. But yeah. Now I did watch Teresa Louise's video yesterday, and I was like, boy, she's really kicked it. I like her quilts. I don't know who edited it for her. I kind of laughed at her singing Jingle Bells with Santa's oh, okay. So it's for skiing or cold weather, right? Are you deconstructing it to copy it, or are you deconstructing it because you made it and want to make it over? I never know. Oh, old sewing books from your grandma. Awesome. Yeah. Not doing free publicity. Oh, I ran out of bobbin thread. I knew I was going to. I loved stockings. I liked Sylvia's. I liked mine. Um, I have one in the works that has embroidered. It didn't run out of bobbin thread. It just decided it wasn't going to sew anymore. Yeah, the stockings, I thought my stockings were simple. And I think Sylvia's were simple and easy to do. Hers look better though, because I like the fabric you chose, Sylvia. That, and I know you've said it, and I know I've read it, and it should stick. Freddie and Irene, was that the name of the fabric line? Something with an F and Irene. The only reason I remember Irene is I used to have a boss named that, and I've never met anybody besides her and my granny who had the name Irene. And my granny was, well, I take that back, my cousin Fanny, because they gave her granny's middle name for her middle name. So my granny was Bertha Irene, and my cousin Fanny is Fanny. And she got named by her older sister. And she has both of her granny's middle names, which I think is awesome. Her other granny was named Fanny. And then our mutual granny was Bertha Irene. Oh, okay. Well, Patty, you should do a video on making stockings if you've made tons of them. That's who I want a video from. I don't want a video from somebody who's just making one for a video. I want a video from the person who's made, 15 of them because they have 15 grandkids that they got to make Christmas gifts for. I want a video from a quilter who's made 100 quilts and done everything there is to do. You know what I mean? I think that's why I like Jenny Down, because, she got a bunch of kids. She made quilts for them long before she ever started doing um, anything on YouTube. Donna Jordan. And then as long as they're not trying to get super duper fancy, I like new ones. Colleen does a really good job of showing things from a new person's perspective. And I'm always kind of like, oh, I didn't think of it that way because I've been doing it for so long, but I don't always think about things the same way that a new quilter would. That's like we both made a box here the last couple of days. And Colleen showed how to do it by cutting out the center pieces so she matches her center. And then I did mine and I cut out the corners and sewed up my corners. And I now understand why you cut the centers. And she now understands why you cut it for corners. It's different ways of doing the same thing. Lewis and Irene, thank you, Sylvia. Uh-oh. Go beat that mailman up. Scrappy Patch. Is that a guy, Patty? And it may not be the same guy because you can have channels with the same name. There was a Scrappy Patch, sounded like a guy, sounded kind of country. I didn't like his videos when he was doing them to start with. Maybe he's gotten better now, but let's not say I didn't like his videos. That's not accurate. He doesn't teach the way my brain works. How sad. So let's see, Linda Winter, I watch her, MSQC, okay. And Faith, over half done on your Dear Jane, $113. You have been killing it, darling. Because you were at 80 last week, right? All right, so I did the flip method, like Patty was mentioning. So there's my canning mat, just the absolute basics. Excuse me. I am going to free motion quilt on this. Probably not today. I'm gonna sit down and figure out what I want to draw on it. You love his version of stockings? I'll have to check him out, see if it's the same one. It's been a while, so I learn okay from Donna Jordan. Sometimes Jenny moves too fast for me at Missouri Star. But between the two of them, I have learned how to look at a pattern and kind of figure out how they put it together. So I have to give them credit for that because that is where I learned it. And thank you. Thank you very much, Tracy and Patty. Like I said, I could just throw it down on the counter now, and this would probably hold 2 dozen jars because you need them, they're like 3 by 3. So you need to set them down so there's a little space between them, which is what I don't like about towels, because you don't always have the right size. You know what I mean? I know this fabric is the right size, and then I'll sit down and do some quilting on it. Gives me a chance to practice free motion, and I'm not worried about ruining a big quilt because this is literally going to be something that gets washed regularly, and so I'll get to see how that stitching holds out. Faith, 53 pieces in a 5-inch block, unfinished 5-inch block, so 4.5. Are you making mosaics? I mean, wow. And Faith, I want to know, how do you take on a project like that? Like, you have 113 is half, so it'd be like 230. Right. So it'd be like 230 blocks. So do you literally figure out what are the easiest blocks and work to the hardest? Or do you start at block 1 and then do 2, 3, 4, 5? That's how my brain works. Is start at 1, go all the way through. This is a cotton. It's actually, that may have been the last of this fabric. I think it may be a batik, Sylvia. I think it may be a batik. Yeah, I don't like the great big stockings either for the exact same reason, Patty. They're too big to fill. I used to do well, stockings got Dollar Tree back then. You know what I mean? I'd go to Dollar Tree and I would buy crayons and coloring books. We always, because we lived in Florida, we always put uh squirt guns. Brain. Always put squirt guns in their stockings and as a present for their birthdays. So like for 3 years in a row when the kids were really little, I gave them squirt guns for their birthdays and just wrap them up and put them in there. Well, then we had a year where, things were a little less tight and I didn't get them squirt guns. And I thought my son was going to cry when he finished opening his presents and he looked around and he was like, "Where's the squirt guns?" And I was like, "Really?" He says, "Yeah." So I went to Dollar Tree and bought squirt guns and came back and brought it to him. And they always played with squirt guns. Hello, Tracy. Your first haircut in a year. Do you feel all better now? I always feel good when I get a haircut. Thank you, Sylvia. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, and I always stockings should have little stuff in them, but yeah, even Dollar Tree stuff could add up real quick. 10 or $15 a kid at Dollar Tree for stuff, especially when you've got like, I mean, I've had, $50 to buy both kids Christmas. So that was not fun. That was not fun. So yeah, so if you're giving, charity gifts to people, maybe think about that. What goes in stockings, and how do you afford to fill them? I mean, we always got lifesaver books and little candy canes. I hated those candy canes. And but my mom, I think, would bought the lifesaver books because they were, fairly big. They filled up a big chunk. And then we didn't get oranges in ours because we lived here. Yeah, it's $1.25 here too, Deborah. But we didn't get oranges. We'd get apples. Um, Sometimes we'd get nuts, and the nuts would always be like in a baggie. So you'd get walnuts and a nutcracker because they never lasted around here, but big things that took up space. And my brother always got those big cars, those big plastic cars. I didn't buy Matchbox cars for my kids. I bought the bigger ones because they filled up more space. And as they got older and we could afford a little bit more, I did buy them some bigger gifts. But okay, Tracy, 240 blocks, yes, and you hand embroidered every one, which I'm just like impressed by. Faith, 225 different blocks. You did 40 your first month by drafting them. No cutting instructions or sewing directions or measurements. Are you doing your Dear Jane from a picture, Faith? Oh, I love the Lifesaver books too. I think everybody got the Lifesaver books. As a matter of fact, um, I just reminded myself that I need to send some Lifesaver books. So actually, my oldest son's wife has now taken over buying him a Lifesaver book. She called me and was like, "What's up with squirt guns and Lifesaver books?" It sounds like she's making a quilt from a picture. Is that what you're doing, Faith? And if you are, I'm even more impressed. I really am. Yeah, Lifesaver books were fun. My mom always got chocolate covered cherries when I was a kid. Oh, now I like them, but I can only eat like one or two before my body just goes, "Ooh, that's too much." Think about what you give from Santa because kids go to school and compare. Yeah. Ribbon candy. I know what that is. Did you look on Amazon, Deborah? I mean, usually the cheap places have ribbon candy and orange slices and all of that stuff. Wayne came home the other day with what he called goats. And I'd never heard them called that. They're the little caramels with a cream swirl in them. He called them goats. And I was like, well, that explains why I didn't know what you were looking for. Yeah, Faith is Superwoman, making 225 blocks from nothing. Sylvia, do you guys have round candies with a hole in the center? Here we call they're sucky candies. They're not chewables. They're like a cough drop, but they have a hole in the center, and they do them in flavors. You can get like cherry and orange and lime, butterscotch, caramel, different things. And they take the little rolls and they put them, it's a genius marketing thing. But they put like 4 or 6 little rolls of Lifesavers in a box that folds open like a book. And it's really good. They're kind of like, you guys have like Christmas pudding and it's a tradition and it has to happen, that kind of thing. It's one of those for most of us. I think most of us who grew up with it's like having a Christmas tree. You gotta have a Christmas tree, you gotta have lights, you gotta tell the kids about Santa, and you gotta have a Lifesaver book. Every time I mention Lifesaver books, it's like, 400. And I think that my pain medicine finally kicked in because my shoulder stopped. Polo? Is that what you call them? Is polo? Or do you play polo on Christmas? Sorry. Yeah, I don't know, 6 now. I think it used to be either 4 or 5. Oh, fruit polo. It's probably the same thing. Bitly won't let you in. Bitly doesn't like me either. Yeah, ribbon candy's that stuff that used to always be in your grandma's candy bowl. And when you took a piece of it out, it was always covered in dust. Sorry. It was. I was like, ooh. But if you get it fresh and it hasn't been sitting there since, the 1950s, then maybe since the Kennedy administration, it's actually decent. It just seemed like, whenever I saw it, it had always been sitting in that candy bowl since the dawn of time. It's like candy corn. They made one bag of it and they pass it around. But I like orange slices. I still don't like circus peanuts. They feel squeaky. As a matter of fact, I just went to pick my tooth because they feel squeaky. You don't get them in a book. They're pretty cool. They always used to be a gift I bought for my kids. My mom always bought them for us. I don't know if my younger son buys them for his kids or not. My older son doesn't have little kids, but I know his wife buys them for him. Yeah, you're barely upright, really sick of tech. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at right now. It's barely upright, but the shoulder's not screaming anymore. So my eyes feel like they have uncrossed. Oh, Hercules Candy is who Kate is always talking about, right? At Last Homely House. Yes, Sylvia. They always have fluff on them. Of course, as little kids, we didn't really care. Now that we're grown, you might care. Some people do, some don't. You bought Pez instead of Lifesavers. Pez was probably a better choice because the Lifesavers can choke you even though they have that hole in them. At least I think so. So yeah, I like the little Pez dispenser things. I didn't like the Pez. Oh, I'm so sorry, Colleen. But I definitely sympathize with you. Oh, I thought Hercules was in the UK. They're in Syracuse? Well, I may have to check that out. And then I've heard of people who had like taffy and fudge as Christmas traditions. My mom would make fudge and hide it in old coffee cans in the cupboard. And it was hilarious because my mom's been gone 18 years. So some of these stories don't have the that they used to have to them. We went in a year before my mother died and cleaned out her cabinets because she had all of this stuff. And my brother actually showed up, but we had all these coffee cans set off to one side. And my brother's looking over there at the coffee cans. He's like, why does mom have so much coffee? And I said, I promise you, you open those cans, there is not coffee in one of them. There was coffee in one. All of them had like one or two little stray pieces of fudge in them from where she had made them, put them in the coffee can, put the coffee can in the cabinet, and forgotten it was there. I was like, yeah. And my brother started to eat it, and I was like, you can eat that if you want, but that fudge in your hand could be as much as 15 years old, because that's how long my mom had lived in that house. So we threw all that fudge out. After she passed, we went back in to clean her house out the final time because she lived there that year in between. And I pulled out probably 6 cans. And I think the second round, she must have made it and put 3 or 4 pieces of fudge in each can, so she wouldn't eat too much at one time. But there was like 6 little 1-pound coffee cans. And I told my brother, I said, I want those coffee cans. Oh, no, you can't have them. I want that fudge. And I was like, you can take the fudge. I want the coffee cans, because metal coffee cans are hard to find here anymore. And they were starting to be even, 20 years ago when mom passed. So I have the coffee cans, and even though they've been washed and cleaned, every once in a while when I pick them up, I can smell my mom's coffee and the fudge in those cans. So they're a sentimental item. And I can definitely see after I'm gone and whoever is cleaning out my house, they're going to be going, why did she keep all of these stupid coffee cans? Now you guys know. You can tell them if they ask you. How's that? Oh, yeah, Deborah, if I swept the floors and cleaned the bathroom at the same time, I would be completely out of breath and sitting down going, nope. Oh, Sylvia, I'm so sorry. Hugs to you, honey. You talk to your sister, and yeah, I feel for you. Matter of fact, it's a little bit after 3, and I came on just before 2. Oh, so I need to be heading out anyway. And I apologize. My camera decided that we didn't get to watch me make it today, but we made it. It's done, and I will record the quilting on it. Hopefully, it'll let me record the quilting with the camera neck bent. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do something with this camera and replace it with, move cameras around so I can actually record for you guys. But you guys all have a great day. Oh, yeah, Deborah, I get it. I am not taking pictures of my house for a reason. Colleen, you guys have been sharing links. I just want to make sure you've shared your own and all of the makers that are here today. And I'm not seeing a response, so I'm assuming that you have. Give you guys a minute to say bye to each other. I appreciate you guys all coming and chatting with me and hanging out. And you have a great day. Bye, guys.